In our finishing instructions, it says pin all pieces to measurements, cover with a damp cloth, leaving cloth to dry. So what that is the blocking process. And that's the process where you dampen your work and pin it out to smooth out your stitches and make everything nice and neat and even. And that aids with sewing seams up and gives a nice, really professional looking, neat finish to your garment. So here I've got just one square to demonstrate to fit on the screen, but of course you'll be working with your entire body piece and your 2 sleeves. So you don't really need any fancy equipment to do this. I have a foam blocking board. Similar ones are available at Joann's, and they come in several pieces that can be fit together. And these are nice because they have a built-in 1-inch grid. So that you can use that as you're pinning your pieces to the measurements in the assembly diagram or your schematic. If you don't have something like this, there's lots of options. You can also use the similar foam mats that they sell for children's play mats. Those are pretty widely available. I've used these cork tiles. You can get these at Joann's too, and you can lay them out on your table or floor and pin directly into them. You can even use a piece of cardboard covered in plastic. Anything that you can pin into that is okay to get damp. You could use a carpet. You could even block something on your bed, as long as it's going to be able to sit there for a while and be undisturbed. So what you need to do is just pin your pieces to measurements. So this is supposed to be 6 inches square. I'm going to pin it out to 6 inches. And this is really good for things like, you know, a rounded corner here that's not very sharp. That's going to the blocking process is going to sharpen that up. And what I'm using to pin are these T-pins, because they're T-shaped, obviously, and they're a little bit sturdier than your standard sewing pin, and they have, you know, a nice big cap there to be able to insert and pull them out again. So pin your body piece and your your sleeves out to the measurements in your pattern for your size. And then what you're going to do, you're going to take either a tea towel or a bath towel. This will just take a little longer to dry, and you're going to soak it and wring it out so it's damp, and then just place that on top of your pinned out piece and leave it somewhere safe to dry thoroughly. Now it's time to sew in our sleeves. So this is going to be easier to follow looking at the assembly diagrams. Now our sleeve top is the edge that has our 3 square motifs, and you're going to align that with the 3 motifs at the center 3 motifs at either side of your body piece. So on this extra small, small, medium size, that's going to fit right in between the side panels that we worked. On the large, extra large size, the side seams are already going to be sewn together. Your front is going to be sewn to the back, but you can still align the top of your sleeve with those center pieces here in between the squares. And that's going to fit very nicely into each side. Your work is just going to be folded as you are seaming. And the 2 to 5 extra large size, again, quite easy. All you need to do is center your sleeve along the 3 squares that are at the center of each side of your body. And for all sizes, you're going to sew those squares together using whip stitch through both loops, just like we did before. So if you need a refresher, just go back to when we were assembling the body and sew your sleeves in using whip stitch. To demonstrate here, I've got my extra small, small, medium size. This is the body piece. This is the side of the body with our side panels we worked. And these are the center 3 squares at the side of the body. And you can see this is how nicely the top of your sleeve fits in. This is my finished sleeve. And those 3 squares just align with the 3 squares of the body. Now for this size, you're also going to need to seam these side panels just right here, this top like inch to the side of your sleeves. If you were working the next size, the large, extra large size, the side of your body is going to look a little bit different. It's going to have a folded square like this. And so you'll also need to sew along the side of the body as well as the top of the sleeve. And then if you're working the 2 to 5XL side, this will just be squares all the way along, and you just need to align the top of your sleeve with those center 3 squares. And no matter what size you're working, we're just going to do whip stitch as we did before. On these side panels, you'll need to work into the side of your stitches. If you were working the large, extra large size, you'll have tops of stitches there to work into, and just work through both loops like we did before. And of course, I'm using a contrasting yarn so you can see, but you'll be using whatever coordinating color you would like, or you can use your yarn tails. If you left some nice long yarn tails, you can use that for seaming as well. So sew the tops of your sleeves into your body on both sides using whip stitch. Let's take a look at the sleeve cuff. So here you can see my completed sleeve. It's got this really nice refined looking ribbing. It's very stretchy. It uses one of my favorite ribbing techniques in crochet, but we're not going to be working stitches into the cuff and working out. That might be the way you would imagine that this is worked, but this ribbing stitch needs to be worked this way. So our stitches are going to be worked perpendicular to the rest of our work. So we're not going to pick up stitches and work out this way. We're actually going to create this ribbed band separately, and then we're going to sew it onto the end of our sleeve. So let me show you how to do that. To begin your sleeve cuff, you need your main color yarn and the smaller of your 2 hooks. And begin as always with a slip knot on your hook. And we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We need a foundation chain because we're working in rows this time. Now we're going to work slip stitches across, beginning with a slip stitch in the second chain from the hook. So remember, the loop on your hook never counts as a stitch. This one right here is the first chain from the hook. This one is the second. So I'm going to slip stitch. I'm going to work into just this top loop, the one that's furthest away from me. And I'm going to work a slip stitch. And then I'm going to do that in each chain until the end of my chain. So that will give me 5 slip stitches. Then I'm going to turn my work. For my second row, I'm going to begin with a chain 1 and then work slip stitches again across those 5 stitches, working into the back loop only. So now that I've turned my work, the slip stitches I worked are kind of curling to the other side. So if I tilt my work a little bit, I can see that nice row of V's that are my stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I'm going to need to find the back loop, which is the one furthest away from me, and begin working slip stitches again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, admittedly, this is tricky as you begin, but once you have a few more rows and more fabric to hold on to, it's going to be much easier and much faster to work. So I'm just going to repeat that last row over and over. So once I turn my work, I'm going to chain 1, and then if I just tilt the work towards me a little bit, it's much easier to locate those back loops, and I'm going to work into each of the back loops. I'm going to slip stitch in each of the back loops across. So here I've worked several more rows and you can really see the ribbing starting to form, and it's really quite stretchy. So it does take a little bit of time because slip stitches do not have a lot of height, but I think it's well worth the effort because this is a really great ribbing stitch for crochet. Here I have just a small portion of the cuff completed for demonstration purposes, but this is where you're going to need to sew your cuff in place. So you're going to work until this piece measures when slightly stretched. So that's just about like this, just opening up the ribbing a little bit until it fits from the top of your shaped side section down to the bottom here and across that square. So when you're finished, you just need to, if you leave a long tail, you'll already be set. Sew this in place using whip stitch. So you're working into sides of stitches, just catching a strand or two on the side edge, going from top to bottom on one side, bottom to top on the other, and working whip stitch just like we did before to sew your cuff in place. So do that on both sides of your sleeve and we'll move on to the next step. Here we're looking at the bottom edge of the completed cardigan, and you can see we're using the same slip stitch ribbing technique to finish the bottom edge of our sweater. The only difference between this and the sleeve cuff is that it's bigger. Where we worked with a chain 6 and 5 slip stitches in each row for the cuff, this time you're going to work with a foundation chain of 12 and you'll have 11 slip stitches in each row. So work the same pattern for the slip stitch ribbing until your piece measures to fit all the way across the bottom of your sweater. So that's going to be both front sides and the back, all the way across. And then when you're finished, leave a nice long tail. You can use that for your seam, and you can sew the ribbing onto the bottom of your cardigan using whip stitch, just like we looked at before. Now we're going to finish the last edge of our jacket, the open front edge. And this is going to be worked in one piece all the way from the bottom edge up around one front, around the back neck, and then down the other side. Now this is going to be worked in a separate piece, just like we worked for the sleeve cuff and the bottom band. It's exactly the same stitch pattern, but this time we're going to work with 8 slip stitches in each row. So we're going to begin with a foundation chain of 9. Same thing, main color, smaller hook, same pattern. Now something to note before you start sewing your button band in is you want to decide what side you want your buttons on. So what we're going to do is begin your ribbing and start working your band and start sewing it in place as you are working. So you're going to start at the side where you're going to sew on your buttons, because we're going to make buttonholes on the other side. So here's an example of what things will look like relatively when you are sewing your button band in place. Now, I don't have the finished cardigan here, but if this was, I would have my finished cardigan body here. This is my bottom ribbing, my bottom band, and I've started my buttonhole ribbing, and I've started sewing it in place right across the bottom of my bottom band and up the side of my open front of my jacket. So I'm just using whip stitch as we did before. I'm going down through the square on one side and up through the ribbing on the other, just catching a side of the stitch, working through both loops when I'm working into the square. And working this way just means that when we get to the point where we have to make a buttonhole, we're going to be in exactly the right spot instead of having to try to ease things in with a measurement. This allows you to work your buttonholes as you go and make sure that everything aligns really nicely. So you're going to sew that in place until you have covered to the top of the second square from the bottom, so up to here. And then you're going to place markers on your band for your buttons. So you can use, like we did before, this type of stitch marker, or you can use a safety pin, just something that will temporarily mark the fabric to mark our button placement for later. And so the button placement is going to be 1 inch up from the bottom edge. So you'd place one marker there. I'm not measuring because this is the finished garment. I've already got the buttons. Then you're going to mark the top button, which is where the second square from the bottom meets the third. And then you can measure with a ruler or just eyeball it. You want 2 more buttons evenly spaced in between. You can even count the ribs if you like, if you want to be very exact. So what we're going to do is place those markers, continue working your ribbing, sewing in place as you work, whip stitch just as we've done before. And then when you come back around the other side, you're going to work buttonholes that correspond with the markers. I'm going to show you how to do that next. I'm working with just a small sample here, but your button band will already be worked across one side of your jacket, and you'll be coming down the other side towards the bottom hem. Now, when you encounter one of those markers we placed, you're going to work a buttonhole row. So these are worked on the right side. You're going to begin with a chain 1, and then you're going to slip stitch in the back loop of the first 3 stitches, just like we've been doing the whole time. Then you're going to chain 2 and skip 2 stitches. So I'm going to skip 2, work into the next back loop, a slip stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch to the end. So all I've done is in the center, I've skipped those center 2 stitches and made a chain above it. So when I turn my work and make a chain 1 and start working across back the other way, I'm still going to be working into the back loops. And then when I encounter that chain 2, I'll work into the back part of that chain to keep the pattern consistent, and then work through the back loops, work slip stitches all the way across the row. So my stitch count has remained the same, and I can continue working until I find my next button marker or buttonhole marker, and I'll make another one of these buttonholes. So do that as you encounter each marker and continue working until you get to the bottom edge, sewing in place as you go, and on a right side row and fasten off. When you finish completing your button band, the last thing you need to do is sew on some buttons. You'll need 4 buttons, and these are about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and that seems to work well with the size of the buttonhole we have. And that's it. You've completed your jacket. I hope you had a lot of fun making it, and we'll see you again next time. For week 4, block your body and sleeve pieces. Then sew in your sleeves. Work the sleeve cuff ribbing and sew it to the bottom of your cuffs. Then work the body edging. Then you're going to work your neck front button band and sew on buttons. That's it for week 4, and we've completed our crochet patchwork jacket. Thanks again, and see you next time.